Hello, good evening, and welcome to the 6th and final Chalke Valley History Festival podcast. I know, a sad moment we've all been anticipating with dread. 55 events and 6 days later, CVHF 2012 has come to a triumphant close. With over 95% capacity over the festival and overwhelmingly positive feedback, it has been an unforgettable week. Now, we've got a lot to fit in tonight, with another history extravaganza gracing rural Wiltshire, with Morpurgo, Michael Gove and Jeremy Paxman all on the programme. First up, however, were the results for the inaugural Chalke Valley History Prize, a writing competition for budding young historians as they were asked to compose the first chapter of their historical novel. After a fantastically insightful masterclass from Sebastian Folkes on the art of writing fiction, Michael Morpurgo and Michael Gove announced the triumphant winners: Tatiana Foggett in the 11 to 14 age group and Rachel Thompson in the 15 to 18 group. Here's an exclusive clip of the winning entries, extracts read by actress Hayden Gwynn.
This last extract is from Old Bill, which is by Tatiana Foggett, who is 11. Old Bill? What a weird name for a bus. Why is there even a bus on display at the Imperial War Museum? What on earth can a bus have done in the war? Boring. An unimpressed child scoffed as she stared, eyebrow raised, hand on hip, directly at me. I honestly felt like beeping my horn really loudly, flashing my headlamps and revving whatever engine I might have left, just to see that child's packed lunch scatter all over the floor. But decorum took over. That and the fact I'm positioned next to Albert, a 6-pounder Mark V tank who likes to sleep during the day and doesn't take kindly to noise. But boring? Me? Perhaps it's time to introduce myself. I started life in 1911 as plain London General Omnibus number 43. I left the factory gleaming, covered in advertisements for glamorous shopping emporiums and theatrical spectaculars. I was reliable and economically practical. I could carry 16 passengers inside and 18 on my open-top deck. I worked routes 8 and 9 in London. George Gwynn, aged 22, was my driver. He was kind and never drove me into anything, or anyone. Life was good. I enjoyed carrying the passengers to and from their places of work, the shows and the shops. They relied on me and I never let them down, not once. That is, until late summer 1914. I'd heard George chatting to his colleagues about Germany and France. I learned that they were far-off places, but they meant nothing to me. Why should they? Then, one day at the end of August, as I was stuck on an omnibus jam in Oxford Street, I listened to a conversation between George and one of our regular passengers, a young Scottish man named Douglas. "I'm signing up for the war, volunteering for the adventure," he told George. "For God, king and country." This upset me. I liked Douglas. He'd always waved me off to the depot as he clambered off at his stop, and he never dropped food or cigarettes like some passengers. Sure enough, the next day, as I bustled and beeped my way through the congestion on Route 8, there was no sign of Douglas. He didn't climb aboard at his usual stop. "He'll be at the recruiting office," I heard George mumble to the conductor. Over the next week or so, many of my regulars disappeared. Gone to join pals' regiments. On the boat to Calais. They're taking the waters over now. Would George be next? On his way to France? As my geography was limited to routes 8 and 9 at this time, I wasn't quite sure where this France place might be. Somewhere south of Piccadilly Circus, I seem to remember, was where I decided it must be. One day in early September, headlights polished and eager to set off from the bus terminal on Route 9, instead of climbing into the driver's compartment, George stood in front of me, hands on hips. "There's no Route 9 for us today, me old friend. We're off to France. It's a matter of some urgency." The army has requisitioned a fleet of omnibuses to move the troops around, and you've been selected. I'm coming with you, and we're off on an adventure. I'm going to start with Witch Child by Rachel Thompson. It's 15. And this story is set in England in 1602 and is told from the point of view of the daughter of a witch, whose activities have increasingly aroused the suspicions of their neighbours. Matters come to a head when a girl in the village suffers a fit. Anyone can feel the sudden love, the change. No longer do our customers wander in freely off the street, but literally run looking over their shoulders. Someone calls me a freak as I pass. An old boot smashes through the window as I lie sleeping, jarring me awake with a thudding heart as mother screams her fury to the heavens. Something has gone wrong. A line overstepped. Too many people know, and now. I go out and call for Mary, but no one answers, though I hear people inside. I see a black cat under the door and beckon it home, comforting myself by stroking its tattered fur as the rain thunders down on our roof. Witches work. They hit the next day. Mary Glover having a fit after refusing to open the door to Elizabeth Jackson's daughter, the witch's daughter. Neighbours pour to her house after hearing her stricken cries. I lurk amongst the sodden boots and coats in the crowd, but somehow Mary knows I'm there and her eyes narrow. I remember a black shape, an animal. It was almost like a familiar. A familiar. The lone pet in a family. The devil. They come for us that night. I cower under the covers as fast breaks, and the crackling of fire fills the air. Mother shrieks, and I hear the sound of sobs and a body being dragged. There are cheers. I smell the metallic tang of blood, and suddenly I run, scampering out of the window and across the rooftops, lost into the night. At the hanging, I don't cry. I turn away as she appears, snivelling wreck. Faces are flushed with excitement as they crane their necks for a better view. I turn away as the crowd roars. I sneak into our house, now a bird's broken shell. I take my pack and place it into the few remaining things I can find. Hemlock, ivy, a clay doll that I pierced the heart of with a pin. Witch. The word whispers around me. I finger the lump on my finger and a smile flits across my face. Witch child. Better. The title is perfect, fittingly so. And now for my duty, to free all witches forever. I turn. I never look back.
A fantastic competition that I'm sure will last for many, many years. Congratulations to Tatiana and Rachel for such a brilliant effort. Without any time to catch our breath, a massive, massive crowd descended on the William Golding tent to listen to Michael Morpurgo, one of the most celebrated children's authors in the world. Although discussing a huge array of his best-selling books, Michael particularly focused on Warhorse, a tale which has enthralled people of every age all over the world, whether it be by book, film or play. Here's a clip of Michael discussing firstly Private Peaceful, and then giving us one of the most moving vocal performances of Only Remembered.